They have no ethics, and people are leaving them in masses.
Yes. Consciousness is not just us. Consciousness is this pen, the air you're breathing, the tree standing outside. Consciousness is all of creation. It's not just people. Consciousness is everything. Just a moment. Really get the mic over here. Consciousness is everything, and everything is oriented to ethics. Yes?
What was the event that precipitated the advent of the galactic consciousness?
There wasn't, no, consciousness first, then event. It goes consciousness, light, thought, event. Well, remember what you were doing January 5th? January 5th of 99? Do you remember what you were doing? As a matter of fact, that's when you were first hearing about Y2K. That's when that consciousness that your systems that you're dependent upon are not all that reliable was planted during that period of time. That consciousness that the power you rely on is not the end all of your existence, and that it could all go away in just a microsecond. That consciousness was January 5th, 1999, if you were looking for an event. Okay. And we've come further and further along. Right now, by the way, we're in this cycle. We're in the third night. We'll talk much more in depth about this particular stage that we're in right now. In this cycle, we're down there. Okay? This universal consciousness cycle will have its own purpose, and that purpose is conscious co-creation. Conscious co-creation. Now, it's pretty evident that we are already co-creating our experience. For instance, if you weren't here, this event wouldn't be happening, would it? If any one of you were gone, it wouldn't be the same experience, would it? So we are all co-creating our experience all of the time. We're usually not as conscious about it as we could be, though. And where this is all leading is to our full ability to consciously co-create our experience. That's a big idea. And we're going to build some more groundwork on how that happens and how it can possibly happen. Can we have the microphone, please?
If the very last level of the whole thing, it only runs part of a year?
Yeah, 260 days. This whole cycle is 260 days long. The question was, okay, after that 260 days, then what? You have to wait. We're going to get to that during this talk. We're going to get right to it, okay? I promise. The whole Mayan calendar comes to a screeching halt It ends completely on October 28th, 2011. Every one of these cycles comes to a boom stop on that day. You will know what happens and why, as best as we can be explained. But there's some explaining to do before we get there. Okay? Now, the way this works is, you've noticed that there's a constant acceleration here. Maybe some of you have noticed that time seems to be speeding up. Yes? Well, that's not exactly true. Time is not speeding up. Creation is. There's more and more event in less and less time than ever before. And it's going to keep on accelerating. And keep on accelerating. You want to have a very personal experience of how much change there is between here and here? You want to know? Because all of you have a very direct experience of how much consciousness shift there is between one of these days and the next night, or then that night and the next day. Every one of you were born during this period, during the end of this planetary cycle, when things were changing once every 19.7 years. You were born to a couple of really nice people called your parents. And up until you were 13, 15 years old, everything was going along just fine. Then you started noticing something. And you know, those people who claimed that they were your parents, those embarrassments that like loaded you up in the car and took you places. Remember that? That difference of point of view. You knew for sure, and whether you did it politely or not so politely, you knew for sure that you were more capable of handling situations and new information than your parents ever could or ever would. This was called the generation gap when people were talking about that sort of thing. And studies were done all over about how long the generation gap was, and they came out with the idea that it was 20 years long. There. That's how much consciousness shift there is between one of these days and one of those nights. What used to happen in 19.7 years, the amount of change that happened in 19.7 years now happens every 360 days. Does that answer a couple of questions of why you feel a little overwhelmed from time to time? Get used to it. Or get over it. We are the Prozac nation. This is why we're going to talk in depth about that. The reason I said either get used to it or get over it is because here, what used to take almost a year, the same amount of change will be happening every 20 days. You guys, some of you out there are the age where you would have gone to school for a career. You know, invested years of your life toward a particular career. Maybe you're on your third. By the time we get up into here, forget about it. Not that far away at all. This is a real situation. And this is really why we have these talks. Because without an understanding, without some plausible understanding of what it is that is happening not just to you, but to everybody, it's really difficult to handle it. And the more people do understand, and the more in depth you understand, the easier it's going to be to go through these transitions. You see, there's two things that are going on here. And then I'm going to go into some more detail, a little bit more detail.